Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. I have a fabulous guest here with you today, and I'm so excited for the conversation. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Germaine Foley, and she is a certified life and money coach, and she helps women with good income build wealth without giving up travel or the things they love. After finding herself over $200,000 in debt despite earning well, she figured out how to turn things around without extreme budgeting. And now she teaches other high earning women how to build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. Germaine, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Candy, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And any of you who are watching this on YouTube or watching the videogram, you're going to see that Germaine and I are unintentionally wearing almost exactly the same color. So that was not planned, but it's the way it is today, right?
Yes, I would even say our lipsticks are a little matchy as well.
Ooh, well, I think it's because it coordinates with the top, right?
Yes.
So tell me about your story. Like the bio that I read, you had significant debt, and then to turn that around and to actually have a system that really supports women, and of course, anybody who's listening can take advantage of it, but your focus is on women. So tell me your story. How did this all come about?
Yes, such a good question. So I will just start from the beginning. I grew up in a blue collar town, and my parents worked really, really hard to get us in a nicer, more, I would say, affluent school district. And when we got there, oh my gosh, everybody was wearing the designer this and the designer that. And I wanted to have those things, but we just couldn't afford it. My parents, like I said, they worked hard, they took great care of us, but we couldn't always have the latest and the greatest. So in my mind, I made a pact with myself that I was going to grow up, go to college, get a great career, make a lot of money so that I could buy whatever I wanted. And that is exactly what I did. And when my husband and I married, we were instantly six-figure earners and we thought we were rich. And so we lived it up. We bought everything, we traveled, we bought the cars, the houses, the timeshares, and we never ever told ourselves no. And we made it work, right? Sometimes we would rob Paul to pay Peter, but we had a wake up call when we had our second child and we had two kids in daycare. And at this point, our daycare bill and our mortgage was the exact same amount. And that is when those balls we were juggling and robbing Paul to pay Peter, it was just no longer an option. And I was just stressed and overwhelmed. And I just knew something had to change. And from there, I started looking for answers. So I started Googling things. And for time's sake, I'm not going to go down all of the rabbit holes I went down. But I will tell you that one of the things that kept coming up was like this restrictive budgeting and cutting everything out. No lattes, no eating out, no fun. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't live like this. This is making me cringe. And so I tried some unconventional things that I thought were like quick fixes. Those things didn't work. So I just resigned and said, fine, I'll do it. I'll do it the way that all of these personal finance experts are telling me how I need to live. So I took the plan to my husband and I said, listen, we just need to cut it all out. No more vacations, no more shopping, no more date nights. The kids, no more extracurricular activities. And he looked at me like, who are you and what have you done with my wife? And he said, Germaine, we need to do something. Absolutely. We got to figure it out. Because again, we had over $200,000 worth of debt. But he said, we can't live like that for the next maybe 10 years. This is a lot of debt that we have. And that is when a light bulb just went off in my head. And I'm like, why do we have to do it like that? Why can't we figure out a way where we can build wealth and still enjoy our lives, where we can build wealth and still let our kids participate in activities and still create memories with them and, go on vacations and things like that. So I went on a mission to do it, and we did. We paid off over $200,000 worth of debt. And at this point, oh my gosh, that's been a while now. And now we have a $500,000 net worth that continues to grow. And I'm here to tell you, if I can do it, anybody can. And I just know so many professional women are just like I was, and I'm here to help them.
Hmm, I love that. There's something, as you were describing that situation that really sticks with me, and that you had created a really good life. And
Hmm.
then to find out that that life that you thought was a really great life, in fact, wasn't all that it was cut up to be. Like to enjoy the things, to buy the stuff, to have the experiences, to have children that you love, and to create that life. It's really, I don't know, it reminds me of how hard it would be to say, and so now I have to say no to having a great life so that I can have reasonable finances. So talk to me about this place, have a great life and pay off the debt. There's a little bit of magic in there. Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. And you're not wrong because Fidelity Investments, they recently did a money mindset study surveying women ages 18 to I think 54 years old. And they found that they're motivated to change. They want to, save, invest, and build wealth, but they don't want to sacrifice their lifestyle. And
Mm.
that same study found that these women thought that that was the only way they can do it is if they sacrifice their lifestyle. And so it's this or. And whenever we're faced with this or instead of and, we usually choose the easiest thing in the moment. We choose the instant gratification. We choose the thing that feels the best. And then we tell ourselves that we'll worry about the money and the wealth building and the debt and the saving later. And so for me, when you can get rid of that or just cross it off, cross it out and insert and instead, you just open up yourself to creativity, to possibility, to just so much more than when you just box yourself in the corner and say, I can either have it this way or that way.
Yeah. And, there's something that's so restrictive about that or, right? And you feel like, what's the point? Like once you've done all that work and you've created a good life, and then all of a sudden, the impression that, society gives us is we have to stop doing all the fun stuff. It's like, well, what's the point? Why did I work so hard? Why did I take all those steps if now all of a sudden my life is going to just be drudgery, right? And I
Yeah.
know, I talk about the motivational triad. I'm sure that you do as well. But this idea that to delay that good feeling, right? Like it has to be, we have to get something. So talk about the technique. You said you decided it wasn't going to be or, it was going to be and then you opened your brain up to creativity. So tell me more about that.
Yes. So the first thing I had to do was get really real with myself because the truth is, we were spending so impulsively. Half the things we were buying, I didn't even know what it was, and they really didn't matter to me. So I had to get really clear on what truly mattered to me and my family and make a decision that I was going to prioritize and spend my money on those things and stop spending on random things. So the technique was to really get clear on the values. And us, I will tell you, family happiness was at the top of the list and our financial security. And so for us, family happiness meant that we would create memories with, at this point, they were still like 4 and 6, right? So to say that for the next 10 years, we're not going on a vacation because we have to pay off this debt like some of the other personal finance people tell you to do, we weren't willing to do that. So we prioritized family happiness, we prioritized their education, their experiences, and we also prioritized our marriage, which meant that, we would have a date night at least once a month. We would have a nice family vacation at least once a year. The kids would participate in some extracurricular activities, but that also meant that I had to learn how to not rely on my money to make myself feel better when I had a bad day at work, right? No more retail therapy just because you are bored, right? So I had to make those kinds of decisions.
Right. And so then I'm assuming there was some area around find another way of creating those emotions, the emotion of comfort, the emotion of rewarded, the emotion of appreciated and celebrate as well. So talk a little bit about that. How did you create the new feelings so that you still had that satisfaction to go along with it?
Yeah. I will tell you, one of the triggers for me was boredom. So whenever I was bored, that was like my thing to do was to, oh, let me just go into Target and let me just see what they have, or let me just go into the mall. So I had to figure out like, okay, when I'm bored, what do I want to do instead? And so for me, it was even deeper than just the boredom. I had to figure out why was I always bored? Right? And what was missing from my life where boredom was just this common emotion. Of course, boredom will come sometimes, but for
Mhm.
me, it was often. And so that's actually when I started going down the path of like coaching and personal development and learning about my thinking and my thoughts and how they created my feelings and things like that. So that was one of the big things for me was just really it was a blessing in disguise because I was able to go on this personal development journey to really see like why am I always bored and to get those answers and to learn how to get that fulfillment that I was craving.
Yeah. And boredom is one of those things that, like you said, we're all going to experience it sometime.
Hmm.
And we need to know how to manage those emotions. Like we don't always have to be chasing the next piece of excitement. Was it purely thought work that worked it for you? Like, so for me, I do thought work. You can see behind me a whole raft of journals. And so I'm forever journaling and looking at my thoughts and my emotions and what am I creating with those things. But did you find something deeper? Did you find that it was like that there was a belief there that somehow triggered the boredom?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things was just simply, I don't have anything to do, right? So part of it was thought work. And another thing that I really learned about myself, remember I told you about my story, right? At the
Mm.
very beginning, worthiness was a big piece too. Because remember, I didn't get to wear the nice clothes when I was in high school, and I wanted to. And again, my pact with myself was that I was going to buy whatever I wanted. And so I had to get clear like the clothes, the shoes, the handbags, that stuff is fine, but it doesn't add to your worthiness. Your worthiness is 100% secure, and there's no material thing that will ever compensate for that or whenever. So I had to get clear on my worthiness as well. And that material things are not the answer to when you're not feeling great about yourself or when you're you know, questioning, how am I looking today? Oh, this dress will make me look even better. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
things like that. I mean, as you're asking the question, it's just like, yes, all of that. I had to deal with it all. And that's the thing about doing any kind of work on yourself. If it's, trying to lose weight or trying to stop over drinking, to stop overspending, that's one thing, but all the other stuff is going to come up when you stop doing those things that you have to deal with.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I so appreciate you being vulnerable with us. It takes courage and I really appreciate it.
Hmm.
The thing that makes like as I'm hearing what you're saying, the thing that really sticks with me is this idea about it's only because you did that work for yourself that now you are the right person to help those women that you help. Like all of that, the self development, all of the self, awareness and the trying new things in a new way, you know, of course, you have the blessing of having dealt with your financial situation, but now you also get to spread that. So, talk a little
Hmm.
bit more about how you approach the women that you work with, because, you know, taking your situation and making it better and healing yourself and all of that growth. But now you're the ripple effect, right? And that's really powerful. So, talk about that.
Yes, it is my life's work. And people ask me sometimes, like, would you, if you could go back and change anything, would you? I'm like, absolutely not, because I wouldn't be here helping other women. And so, yeah, I love, helping. It started with just helping my friends and family, and then it just rippled into like, oh my gosh, more people need to hear this. So I have a podcast called the Becoming the Wealthy You podcast that you're going to be on very
Yeah.
soon. I'm so excited about that. That, helps people every single week. And then I also have a coaching program. I call it the Wealthy Woman's Academy. And it's all about becoming that next highest version of yourself, becoming the wealthy version of yourself. So yeah, and one of the first things we do is we get really, really clear on their values. And I will tell you this, Candy, whenever we do this work, financial security is always on the list of what women value, but it's always underfunded. It's the one
Mm.
thing that is underfunded. Some of their other values, yes, you can absolutely see how that, plays out in their finances. But when it comes to their financial security, it's one of the top things that women say they value, yet we don't see it being prioritized in their lives.
And I imagine that these women that you work with, when they know that something is off, but they probably haven't seen that equation. That I value this, and yet the things that I'm creating in my life don't show that I value that. Probably just the eye opener of seeing it
Mhm.
probably is just transformative, right? Like,
Oh my gosh, awareness is the first level of change. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So, yes, 100%. Just seeing it like play out in their face is just like, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Hmm. So let's talk about a couple of more specific things. And I really appreciate that you approach this from a strategic standpoint, but also from the personal development standpoint. And so I imagine the spin-off of the women doing the work with you is that they get all kinds of other benefits too, right? Like that is the return on investment exponentially. So talk to me about why you think women avoid finances. Why do they avoid that? Even though they have that desire to be wealthy, why do they avoid the finances?
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons is one that I mentioned already. The Fidelity Investments Money Mindset study showed that women want to build wealth, but they think that in order to do so, they would have to give up everything they loved. And so they just put blinders on and just decide, hey, I'm just going to live life and I have time. This is a thought that a lot of women have. Like, I have time, or I'll think about it later, and they just push it off. Another reason is because they don't want to face reality because of how they're going to talk to themselves about whatever they see. So, one of the exercises I take my clients through is an audit, just to look, like, finally, just look at what you've been doing with your money. And we do this in a very compassionate way, we do it in a very caring way. And everybody is afraid of this exercise. But I give them strict rules around how they can talk to themselves about these things that they see. And everybody always tells me afterwards that, oh my God, I'm so glad I did it. Like, I can finally stop just making up stories and feeling overwhelmed because I actually see what's going on. And more times than not, it's not as bad as people think.
Isn't that
And so,
interesting?
yeah, and so that grace and not beating yourself up, not punishing yourself, not telling yourself that you were bad with money, you should have done it differently. You just look at your finances as data. And then from that place, you can move on.
Right. Yeah. There's something so powerful about that. So first, the looking at money as data. It's just a number. For some people, $200,000 in debt is no big deal. They would do that on margin, right?
Hmm.
And for other people, it's a number that they can't even imagine. But yet, how you decided to interpret it was the meaning that it had for you, as it would be for your clients. But to be able to do this with compassion and these clear ground rules, you are not allowed to go and say terrible things to yourself, right? Do you also encourage them to really appreciate the courage that it took to look,
Hmm.
to really look at what's really going on here? Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, I even to decide that I'm going to work with a money coach because I want to be better with money. I want to let go of this financial stress. I want to reap the benefits of how hard I work. Like that in itself is very courageous. So, absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah, not only are these women high earning, but they're courageous women and getting ready to take over the world. I love it. So let's talk about the surprising women. The surprising reason that you find that women pay off credit card debt, but
Mm.
then turn around and it's like a revolving line of credit, right? Like they pay it off, but then it racks back up. Why do you think that happens, and how can they stop it?
Yes. Okay. So, we as humans love habits, and you know this, right? Our brains love, love, love to do the same things over and over and over and over again. And so, if you are in the habit of being in credit card debt, one part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, wants out. It knows that it's not good for you. It knows that, you're instead of earning compounding interest, you're paying it. And so that's the part of you that's like, yes, let's get out. But then there's this other part of your brain, I call it the primitive brain, that's like, no, this is how we live. Where's that credit card debt? We got to get back. And so it's literally like you're stuck in a habit loop. And I call it your financial comfort zone. Your comfort zone for some women, a lot of the women that come to me find themselves stuck in credit card debt. And they're like, I've paid it off so many times. Every time I get a bonus or a windfall or a promotion or a raise, I pay it off, but I find myself right back in. And so it's almost like a subconscious cycle that you're in, like it's unconscious, you don't even realize it. And so that is why it is a habit. And there's nothing wrong with you. You're not bad with money. It's just that you are in the familiar habit of being in credit card debt and your brain wants to stay there because it thinks it's safe there.
Yeah, it's the devil you know, right? Instead of the
Hmm.
one that you don't. So we've talked about the paying off debt, but I'd like to pivot here and start talking about wealth
Hmm.
and how to create that wealth identity, because what you just described about being in the habit of being in debt, credit card debt, there's an identity piece there as well as the habit. So how do you help them create the identity of a wealthy woman, and how do you build that?
Absolutely. So, one of the things we go back to one of our first sessions is just really getting clear on why they want to be wealthy, why they want to build wealth. Because the truth is, you can keep just living how you're living. Why do you want to change? And once they have a clear understanding of why and what they want their future to be, that is when things can really, really change for them. That is when they start to think about, okay, this is who I am now, but who do I want to be? And how does she act? What decisions would she make? And one of the things I work with my clients a lot on is just making money decisions ahead of time. Instead of being impulsive, instead of just flying by the seat of your pants, you're making those decisions ahead of time for your short term, but also long term.
Hmm.
And so, identity is all around how you think about yourself, how you think about your future, and just really honing in on that and making it clear. Like one of my dreams, I love for people to dream, is that I send my kids to college debt free. Another one of my dreams is that, okay, when it's time for them to buy their first home, I want to help them with a really nice down payment, because I remember when it was time for us to buy our home, the banker asked, "Hey, is there anyone who can gift you $10,000?" We were like, "What? No, absolutely
Mm.
not." So I want to be that. So if I want to be that kind of wealthy mother and grandmother one day, how do I start behaving today so that I can get there?
Right, right. And the quality, so taking that and putting it together with the values that you
Hmm.
have, family values, like you started. No wonder it's important to you to be able to be the generous parent,
Yeah.
in future years, or the generous grandparent. That's really cool. So why do you want it? And then acting as if. I'm not a
Hmm.
big person for, the fake it till you make it, but I am a real big proponent on deciding that identity that you want. And then even if you are acting, as if you were an actor or an actress, to really embody that space, which is a different vibe from the fake it till you make it
I agree with you
approach.
because
Yeah.
some people, especially when you're talking about money, they'll spend beyond their means trying to fake it till they make it, and then it just creates more issues. So my thing is like, okay, think about who you want to be in the future and how will you act today so that you can get her,
Hmm.
right? So that means that I'm making a lot of different decisions today if I want to get to her. I'm
Hmm.
not just, being unintentional or, faking it till I make it with buying all the things and trying to impress all the people. So,
Yeah. Hmm. So the next piece, so we talk about building wealth and why do you want to have wealth and how much, like what is wealth to you? Wealth to you is different from wealth to me,
mhm.
different from wealth to one of your clients, so we've got debt, we've got wealth, we've got identity, we've got habits, we've got your beliefs, where money is being used instead of being aware of your beliefs. What's missing? What have we not talked about that's really critical about how you work with your clients?
Yeah, one of the things I love to help my clients to understand with wealth building, like this one has like a two edges to it. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So I work with women who are doing well in their careers and in their businesses. And they have the skill to make good money. Like that's their thing. And that's amazing. And I'm always teaching and telling them like where you are now is just the baseline. You can make even more, right? That's one of the things I work with my clients on is, being open for more income. Yet, that same mentality can keep you stuck because you're like, I'll just make more. Like, I'm just going to spend and live how I want to live now without regards to my goals or my money because I have this amazing skill where I can make more. And so I would say that doing well financially, building wealth is not just about making money. It's about how you treat your money. It's about how you manage your money. It's about how you think and feel about your money. And so that's one thing that I would love to say that it's
Mhm.
more about because you can have someone who make millions of dollars a year and still not have a net worth.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I see that all the time
mhm.
in coaching businesses. Lots of people who are, six, seven-figure earners, but their costs are so high that really what's left in their pocket, their profit is not very much for the amount of effort that they're putting in and the amount of investment that they're placing as well. Huh. It's interesting, as you're describing that double-edged sword of I can always make more, but then that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to spend more. One thing that I'm curious about is in how you define money. Like what does money mean to you? Did you find that you had to change that belief as well when you were doing your work?
Oh yeah. I thought money was meant to be spent. Like money is the thing that's just meant to be spent. And it's something that is, I thought that I would always struggle with money. Like I knew I was okay with making it. I'm like, I'll make it, but I'm never have any because I'm just not good at it. So I used to think that way too. But the thing about money, I really thought the reason for it was just to spend and buy things. And that makes sense because of how I grew up. Because sometimes my parents would get like a windfall, like a tax return or some sort of, influx of money. And we would just spend it. Like it was like, yes, like we would just go and spend it. So that, of course, that's what I thought money was for, because that's how I grew up. And now I look at it as a tool to enhance my life and to build wealth with and to create like security and comfort and safety. So that means that sometimes I'm not spending it, sometimes I'm investing it, sometimes I am spending it, but it's more of a tool to just create a life that I really want to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes that's the impact that you have as well, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, the future value impact as well. That's super interesting. Thanks, Germaine.
Hmm.
So, as we get ready to wrap up, I would love to hear how people can find out more about you. And I know that you were sharing earlier that there is a free gift that people can get access to as well. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. Yes, I have a free training. It's called How to Build Wealth Without Going on a Strict Budget because nobody wants that, right?
Yeah.
And you can grab that at germainefoley.com/wealth class. That's Germaine with a G, foley.com/wealth class. And in that class, I break down 4 essentials that I think everybody should embrace if they want to be able to build wealth without having to be super restrictive or, deprive yourself.
Yeah. Oh, that's so helpful. And I'll make sure to put all of that information in the episode notes as well. Thank you so much for joining me. I learned a lot, and this conversation has really made me think about money as opposed to just the assumption about what my assumptions are about money. And I'm just so thrilled to have met you and also just to take my hat off to you. The work that you're doing is good work and it's changing the world for so many women and then consequently their families and everyone they're involved with. Thank you so much for joining me.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, everyone, thanks so much for joining us this week. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And I also want you to know that lots of times when I'm doing these interviews, I'm thinking about what you might enjoy. What is the question that you would want to ask? And so I do my best to turn around and ask the guests the things that I think you're interested in and that you're curious about. I really appreciate you. I am so thankful that you spend your time and your energy here with us. And I wish you all the best. Go out and have a wonderful day and have the impact that you're meant to be having in the world.